What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bischoff and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions podcast. He's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. We're drinking coffee, having the time of our lives as the Lions are 5-2. Lions are 5-2. They're into their bye week. We get a big win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about it. We did not do a show last week talking about the Chiefs' loss. I kind of wasn't feeling great at the end of the week last week, and Scott had some things that he had to take care of with the cottage and all that stuff. So we took a week off.
I didn't want to bitch about all the things that went on in that game, so I figured it'd be best just to avoid it.
That too. I kind of didn't want to sound like a broken record. Like, we knew that the refs were kind of up to some fishy stuff. The fact that a team in today's game went a whole game without a penalty, it's unheard of. It shouldn't happen. It happened. It is what it is. We don't need to get into the Brian Branch stuff and sucker punching Juju Smith-Schuster and illegal blocking the backs that may or may not have been legal or not. It is what it is. So we move on. We beat the Bucs. Monday Night Football, big win. Good bounce back performance from the Lions overall, specifically on defense. They really locked in and played much better. What are some key takeaways here, Scott, from Week 7 in this win over the Bucs?
Historically, I think Tampa's been kind of a tough matchup for the Lions on offense, and I don't know if that's because of how quick Tampa is to flow laterally and to rally to the ball kind of stuff, and how difficult Vita Vea makes things. Whatever it is that they do on defense gives the Lions offense fits. Goff looked like he was expecting pressure from the interior, which he should have because of Vita Vea. But then the blitz and other, all the flashing lights that came in and kind of around him, it just looked like he was out of sync and out of sorts, which is kind of typical for his performances against Tampa, right? So I think that's just the expectation. But so I thought the offense looked a little bit stagnant at times. If we take away the big Gibbs run for the touchdown, which was awesome, if we take away that run, the offense looked a little rough. But if we consider what it is that they were playing against, it, and I don't think Vea was on the field for the Gibbs run either, so that helps.
Yeah.
But I think that's just a rough matchup for them. So on the offensive side of the ball, I think it was a little frustrating to watch just how they just didn't put that game away when they had opportunities to do so.
Yeah.
But give Tampa credit for making things very difficult and confusing and chaotic and physical for Goff. On the defensive side of the ball, I was mystified by it. Like I don't know what to make of, like, I mean, we almost have to consider that performance kind of like a black swan kind of thing, because it's just unheard of to be missing your top 4 defensive backs, and I mean, like, studs, and to bring guys in that like, what I'm saying, like, and then to put that performance out where just based on the TV side of things and how it was playing out, it looked like Baker Mayfield was both confused by coverages, he looked rattled, he looked confused, and that's not Baker. I mean, Baker, if anything, I think if you're physical with him, I think he thrives on that kind of stuff. He's like a gritty hockey player who, if you punch him in the face, he's like Brad Marchand, and that's right. Perfect. He's a rat, right? But, like, he didn't really have many answers for what the Lions were doing with their blitz, with their disguises, and with what they were doing in the back end. And I can't say enough good things about how I felt. I think I felt pregnant. I've mentioned that in the past on this show. Around Kelvin Shepherd and his ability to do different things on defense, which we just aren't used to seeing, right? So now I haven't looked at any of the all 22 stuff to see exactly, not that I would even understand totally what they were doing, but it was very obvious that what they were doing on defense was confusing and it rattled Baker. He didn't play great. They didn't have anything going on offense, but I don't know. What did you, I mean, so that's my takeaways,
Yeah. I think defensively, they fixed their angles to the football. You look at Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. I clipped a couple that I put out on my Twitter or X page at Russ NFL Draft, where Jack Campbell took some really bad angles to the football. And it wasn't just him. Brian Branch did the same.
Yeah.
Kirby Joseph did the same. Alex Anzalone did the same. Like, they all were just, they were not playing the way that they're supposed to be playing. And against the Bucs, they really honed in on it and found ways to shorten, or I guess shorten the space between themselves and the defender much faster, much more efficiently, or shorten the space between them and the player with the football.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things that Kelvin Shepherd is, I think personally, doing a little bit differently than Aaron Glenn. And he's making these adjustments week after week. And the defense at times, I think, looks a little bit differently week after week, which is nice to see, because this is a defense that I felt in the past from last year and seasons prior with AG, where it was single high safety, cover one, single high safety, cover three. That was it.
Yeah.
They're going to blitz you here and there. And other than that, they're going to send 4, drop 7. And in this game, they would send 6, they would send 5, they would send 3, they would put Hutch as a contain, they would have Barnes or Hutch or whoever as almost like a spy at times. So they did a bunch of different things where they were mixing and matching up front in that front 7. And then just kudos to those guys in the back end who, a lot of people say they are cast-offs, they don't belong. The Legion of Whom, as they've kind of been nicknamed now. And it's like, they do belong. These are guys that do belong, and they took advantage of their opportunity. And I get it. Mike Evans went down. Chris Godwin didn't play. Some guys weren't healthy, but you know what? The shoe's on the other foot too. The Lions are not healthy on defense, and they found ways to make it happen. And I think the addition of Alim McNeil, him coming back, that's a huge positive for this defense. It didn't necessarily free up Aiden Hutchinson, but it freed up other guys, and it allowed some of those blitzes to get home. It allowed the pressure of those blitzes to get home. And just staying with the defense, Eric Hallett, and Nick Whiteside have earned their opportunity to stick around. Not saying other guys, didn't.
No, for sure.
But like, if they were to put Thomas Harper to the practice squad and bring up Hallett and keep Whiteside, I'm fine with that, because those guys really were aggressive and they stepped up and they give you, I think, the ability to stay versatile on defense. When Brian Branch comes back, now you can bring him closer to the box because you have Hallett as a deep safety. And you have him with Kirby Joseph, and now Branch can play in the nickel with Amik and Rockison and Whiteside. If you get DJ Reed back, DJ Reed would have to sit out the game after the bye week because the bye week does not count as part of the IR.
Yeah.
But so much positives with just what they were able to do. And I'm with you on the offense. I thought just very lackluster with what they were doing. I think I get in my own head during games. I probably should not live tweet as much because people get really mad at me. Like, you can't expect perfection all the time, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I hear you, but there's a standard with this football team now. The standard is you have a high-powered offense because of the playmakers you have, the high-efficient quarterback play that you get, the offensive line that you've built. And I know the offensive line, Taylor Decker, is not playing like the Taylor Decker we've seen throughout his career. We're not seeing really the same Graham Glasgow. But these guys are still veterans. They're still high-caliber, high-level football players. And to your point, Jahmyr Gibbs, 78-yard carry. Had he not had that 78-yard carry, he finished with 136. If he didn't have that, up to that point, he had 58 rushing yards on 16 carries. Like, that's only a 3.5-yard average. So kudos to the Bucs. I know their defense makes things very difficult, and it's a tough matchup, and you win. I mean, you're happy with the win, and
Absolutely.
I think the offense will be fine. But there were times where it was like, I even joked about it. I'm like, John Morton must drive a Tesla because he does not know where the gas pedal is. You know what I mean? Like, the car's driving itself type deal. And it's like, You got to
I think
change things up.
it felt like if they had just a split second longer,
Yeah,
for things to develop, then it would have been a little different, but they didn't. And some of that is we've talked. Anybody who's watched us talk about the Lions, I think we both feel, and I do for sure, is that Goff's issues in and around pressure are more about perceived pressure than physical pressure. So nobody should take this as me or you or whoever saying that we think he is afraid of getting. He's not afraid of getting hit.
right.
He's not a passive player. He's not a, whatever word you want to use, whatever derogatory slur you want to throw at him. That's not what we're saying. It's more, it's like, okay, I'm worried that Vita Vea is going to be falling into my knees every time I throw the ball, and my eyes are there. And, oh, shit, this guy's blitzing off the edge, and now I got to get rid of it. And that's what it feels like. Like, there's just so much, like blinking lights in his head that it's hard to execute perfectly the plays that are drawn up. Now, that doesn't mean that they drew up great plays. I mean, sometimes I wonder, I think the natural inclination, at least for me, is to think, well, their route concepts are too deep. But the reality is they're probably a little too shallow.
Yeah.
And then when he gets off of the primary, it takes so much time to get to the second, and the pressure's there. So I don't know. I don't have a great answer for any of that stuff. I know that Goff had one of those games where it's just like, yeah, he had an off game, but it's understandable. That pressure and everything he faced, that's tough. It is tough against that particular team. The Lions have had issues, and now they've beat them a lot because the Lions are a great football team. Make no mistake, they are. But that doesn't mean that those aren't tough, grinded out wins against a team like that. I mean, that's a playoff style kind of win. At home after what happened in Kansas City. If we can go back to Kansas City just for a second, it looked like on defense that Kansas City, whoever designed the concepts in and around what Kansas City was going to do on offense that game was super smart, because it felt like they stretched the Lions laterally and made them run long distances to get into their coverage responsibilities.
Yeah.
And instead of attacking down the field, it was more laterally, like side to side.
Yeah.
And then, like you mentioned, you're taking bad angles. Well, if you got to run 12 steps or whatever it is to get to like the perfect spot on the field to make a tackle, if you take a bad thought during one of those 12 steps, you're screwed.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that game felt like. Like,
right.
Death by a million paper cuts kind of thing. And it's frustrating, right? So whatever happened, however the Lions went about their business of looking at their performance against Kansas City and then dialing up this gem on defense, it just leaves me feeling so optimistic about this defense and what it's going to be able to do when really important football games happen. And I can't say that last year I felt that way about the defense. Like, it was fun to watch Hutchinson do crazy things before he broke his leg, right? It's fun. It was fun. It's fun to watch good players do interesting things. But from a schematic standpoint, watching that performance on Monday was just like it was different. Yeah. So, I don't know if anybody else feels that way. That's how I feel about it. Things change week to week in the NFL. So I don't think it matters so much going forward. It's just something to put into the memory banks of all right, this is what a Kelvin Shepherd defense can do with guys like you mentioned, with the second, I don't want to call them second tier, with the players they had in the secondary, the Legion of whom, like you mentioned, they had those guys and they performed the way they performed. It's just incredible. It was just incredible.
And they held the Bucs to 58 yards in the first half. Like, when was the last time the Lions held any team in any half under 60 yards? Probably never. Like, they did some things that just most defenses don't do, not in this league, not against Baker Mayfield, not against a Bucs offense that has the weapons that they have. And I get it. They were injured. Mike Evans got banged up and he's done for the year, and Godwin didn't play and Bucky Irving didn't play. I know all of that, but this team played just completely different. Like Jack Campbell was flying around that one screen. He came down and made a perfect tackle in space. And Meek stepped up in a big way again. And there's
Barnes.
just, yes, Barnes. I mean, there's just so much to love with what they did. And they enter the bye week at a really high level, really gelling. They're going to get some guys back, like we mentioned, and it was really positive. One thing on the offensive side that I wanted to add for people out there, like, don't click the panic button on Jameson Williams because of production off of one game. A week ago against the Chiefs on Sunday night, he had 6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. Like, it's going to be sometimes a game like that where, as we've talked about in the past with like Aaron Glenn, okay, we're going to let Justin Jefferson do his thing, but we're going to take everybody else away.
Yeah.
That might be a mindset for some defenses out there. We're going to take everybody else away. We're going to limit Laporta. We're going to bracket J-Mo, but we're going to let St. Brown get 7 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. That's fine. But we're going to take away the run game. And that's kind of what the Bucs did. Like, they tried their best to limit the run until the one broke. And they did. Yeah. And they limited Laporta. They limited J-Mo. They Tesla. I don't know why he doesn't play. I love Khalif Raymond, but we can probably make a little move here and bring Tesla on a little bit more. Because
what did you think about the 4th down play call?
The 4th and 2?
Yeah.
So I knew it was coming, and I accept going for it on 4th down here in Detroit. We all know that.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I said in live time, I said we should kick the field goal here, just get the points, because you got the turnover and you got a free possession. Get the points and make it a 2-score game. That's what my thought was. But then they go for it, and it's fine. I didn't like the play call because I felt like I was watching the day before. I was watching that stupid idiot Matt LaFleur. I felt like I was watching him make a 4th down call because that's what he was calling on 4th down. And I was watching Jordan Love take slot fades and throw it deep on 4th and 1.
That stupid idiot. Nicely.
Stupid idiot with a stupid haircut and a stupid vest. I hate that guy.
I would give it all for that hair and that vest. So
I get you.
Whatever that means.
I get you. He just bothers me. He irks me. And that team, they look like they have regressed in Green Bay, and they were like counting their Super Bowls again after week 1. So we'll see what happens on Thanksgiving. But am I looking ahead? Pardon me for looking ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm with you. The same thing. I thought, I had no issues with part of this aggressive mentality is they're going to do things that make us uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. As fans, like, because we're always thinking about shit, what comes next. We're gonna go for this and miss it, and they're gonna march down the field, and we're gonna lose by 2, and we're gonna be thinking about should have kicked that field goal, blah blah blah. The choice that Goff made to push that ball into that high leverage sort of low probability, whatever you want to call it, it just it was not an efficient choice. So, I mean, if he would have made the decision to put the ball somewhere else into a much more easier play to make, I would have been happy with it.
Yeah.
I just think that's almost like you're asking for magic to happen when you don't necessarily, you just needed 2 yards.
Yeah.
But I get that's part of going for it, is that you accept whatever choice the quarterback makes. Now, is it a reasonable choice because it was single coverage? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it made sense. To me, it's like
very, very, very aggressive.
It's very aggressive, and you're asking the rookie receiver to make a high-level play in a high-level situation that he hasn't necessarily been exposed to a bunch early in his NFL career, which is fine. I get it. Like, that's how you crack the egg, right? Like, you got to do it somehow, and you figure out a way to make it work. And, some guys got to step up and make a play. Now, he was getting held a little bit. Could have been maybe some defensive holding or something like that. But at the end of the day, like, all eyes for me were on St. Brown. I thought it was going to him 100%. Because I knew they were throwing the ball. I knew it. Like, because they weren't able to really run the ball. And you knew they were throwing the ball. And I was like looking at St. Brown because he was in the bottom of the screen. And all of a sudden I'm watching the ball at the top of the screen going to Tesla. And I'm like, I don't like that. Like, I'm hitting.
I was watching J-Mo and St. Brown thinking, are we going to see some sort of like
ladder
leader? Yeah, I mean, that could have been something, but like, I thought something as simple as, pick route, right? Like, super easy because it's 4th and 2. You just need 2 yards. So essentially you take one step up the field and stop.
Right.
One of those guys, right? And the other one either runs the out or the in or whatever. And I think J-Mo was open.
Yeah.
I think St. Brown was open. It's just Goff was staring at Tesla, which is, it's part of the experience, I suppose. But I mean, you mentioned J-Mo. I think we have to own some of it with the frustration in and around Jameson Williams, because everybody expected him to be having a much more productive, more catches, more touchdowns, more big plays season than he's had. I think the context around this year has been, he had the 1 week where he had some drops, and he hasn't been given a bunch of opportunities in games. And when he has, he's been fine. But, I think if fans are expecting him to be an 80 catch, 1,200 yard, 10 touchdown guy because they extended him and paid him a bunch of money, I think that's almost misplaced thinking because of what they already have on offense. Right. So the value of a guy like Jameson Williams, and I'm not even going to say it. Erase that whole.
You sure?
Yep. Don't want to put it out there.
Okay. Well, I'll lead into something else. I
just had an aneurysm or something in front of the camera.
Sorry, we got high school.
I don't want to put out to the world what I'm thinking, why there's value in J-Mo, and everybody knows what I'm saying. I'm just not going to say it.
Okay. All right. Well, I do have a little bit of a concern and kind of a bone to pick with this offense, and it's primarily on third down and 10+ yards. This football team is 0-20 from that down and distance this year. And I get it. Like, you don't really have a play call for 3rd and 15. You don't have a play call for 3rd and 20. And I get it. You probably don't even have a play call for 3rd and 10 sometimes. But for a team that goes for it as much as they do on 4th down, you're not getting into situations at all on 3rd and 10+ to like even cut that in half or get 6 or 7 yards, 8 yards, whatever, to make it a manageable 4th down situation at times. And I did the math. The Lions are 19th in the NFL in 3rd down conversion rate right now. And you're 0 for 20 on 3rd and 10+. If you got a quarter of those, so 5 out of 20, you would be like top 7 or 8 in the league in 3rd down conversion rate. So if you added 5 more 3rd down conversions that you've had, you're looking at a completely different offense. You're keeping the offense on the field. You're probably scoring a couple more points. You're keeping the defense off the field, and maybe you're 6-1 rather than 5-2 if you were to do that. Now, and again, I didn't do the math as far as what games were 3rd and 10. It might have been against the Packers that primarily happened. I don't know, but they had 3rd and 10 a couple times against the Bucs, and they didn't get it. And I you like there's a difference there. There's a disconnect on those 3rd downs. And when they were on 3rd down with Ben Johnson, I never really had you doubted a little bit, but it never really crossed my mind as frequently as it does now. And I think that
definitely didn't feel as threatening.
Correct.
Right? Like, you didn't feel like 3rd and 10 was well, you might as well punt on 3rd down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my bone to pick with John Morton in this offense. It's not even so much like what happens on 1st and 2nd down sometimes. It's just, and I think like for example, the tight end boot play that they have where like he check releases to the flat, whether it's Laporta or Brock Wright. I feel like they ran that 6, 8, 9 times on Monday night. And it was like they kept doing it on 2nd and 9. And then they'd be faced with 3rd and 8. Yeah. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
that play just is, it's not going to work against that defense that flows as fast as they do. It just doesn't.
Exactly.
Anything into the flats is dead against Tampa. It just is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that it is what it is. I just hope as we move to the second half, as the Lions are 5-2, I hope they get better on 3rd down, primarily 3rd and 10+. And I hope the run game keeps going. I hope it can pick up steam. I mean, Montgomery's doing fine. I know there's like some panic there. Like, he had 13 carries for 21 yards. He's had some games where he's been limited to 2 yards per carry or less a couple different times this year. And I was talking to you about this. Like, I haven't really looked deep into it. I'm going to have a film breakdown coming to Lions Wire this week or next week, looking at David Montgomery runs from Monday night and why they weren't working. But I get a sense like they're trying to do more zone stuff with David Montgomery and more like power and toss and just different things with and duo power and all that with Jahmyr Gibbs. And I'm just kind of like, I think he got it wrong. I think Gibbs should be running in with zone and finding the crease in the opening, and Montgomery is following the double team to the backer and getting you 4 or 5 yards a pop. And I could be wrong. That's kind of my thought. That's what I felt like I was seeing on Monday night. I have not gotten deep into the offensive film yet, so we'll see. But second half outlook, we've got obviously 10 more games to go. And this is a football team that is 5-2. You think 10-0?
No, I'm kidding. I have no idea.
I mean, again, we're not going to predict game by game for people out there. If you want to, feel free to let us know in the comments what you think the second half outlook is going to be. But this is a football team that when they get into week 9, they're going to be playing the Vikings. And then they've got the Commanders and Eagles on the road. We'll see what the Commanders look like. Is Jaden Daniels going to be healthy for that game?
Yeah.
You got the Giants, the Packers, the Cowboys, the Rams on there. The Rams look like a very good football team, regardless of who's playing receiver for them.
Yeah.
And then you end it with the stretch on the road. You got the Steelers at home, but then on the road, you got Vikings and Bears. You got the Vikings at Minnesota on Christmas Day. So second half outlook, what are some things that you're looking for?
I mean, this has been talked about forever, but everybody thought, us included, that the first half of this or pre-bye week, this schedule was going to be very challenging.
Yeah.
And anybody with a heartbeat out there would have accepted 5-2 happily.
Yeah.
Obviously some of the games that you thought might look easier in, say, the second half of the schedule don't anymore. I would have thought Dallas would be a game that you would have kind of salivated over, but suddenly I don't want to deal with that offense, right?
Right.
Kind
of want to play against that defense, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lions. That's going to be a very high scoring game. I think that if we just go, the next 2 games, whatever it is, you get Minnesota at home. It's at home, right? I think,
Minnesota at home.
It's a really good spot for the Lions on defense, especially looking the way they did last week against Baker, to be playing against what I would still view as a bit of a rookie quarterback who hasn't seen a lot. I like JJ McCarthy a ton in the draft process, and I thought he was a fantastic quarterback at Michigan, but he needs time, right? So
is it confirmed that he'll be back?
He's been the emergency quarterback for 2 weeks there. Okay. So it's clear that the doctors have cleared him to play that role. And if they've cleared him to play that role, then I think he's cleared to play, which the whole thing is confusing still.
Yeah.
Anybody who watched that game last night has to be thinking, what are you doing with Wentz? Because it's just ugly, you know, but it's still the Vikings, and McCarthy's a really good quarterback. He's a very smart player. That doesn't mean that he's not going to put the ball into dangerous places because he hasn't seen a lot in the NFL. He hasn't played a lot in the NFL, but they have dangerous weapons, between Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and everything they have going. So I'm not saying that that's a layup kind of a thing, but the Lions should be in a pretty good position against Minnesota in 2 weeks. They should.
Yeah.
The Washington game is interesting because you feel a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth from last year's playoff game. Obviously, Jaden Daniels sort of exploited them last year. It's a very different thing that the Lions have going on right now. He is not healthy. I don't know totally about his injury, because he's had a knee injury for a couple weeks and he hasn't looked the same. And now you've got a hamstring, and it's just, is it really a hamstring? Because it did not look like a hamstring kind of.
It looked like a knee.
It did. So, and it looked almost like, ooh, that's an ugly one, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how healthy he is going to be. I know he's not playing. I think they play Monday night. So he's not playing this week. So we'll see. We'll see long-term as far as what he looks like, what his health is. But But if he's limited in any way, like, from a movement standpoint, it just takes away a lot of what he does, and a lot of his high danger stuff. So, I mean, I think that obviously we're going to go week by week, but the Lions are in a great position. They get Green Bay at home. All things look good, right? So I think the Philly game is going to be a tough one.
Mhm.
Philly's not what they once were. It's really confusing what's happening there. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's happening there.
Yeah.
But they've had a history of that where, like, at the beginning of last year, it looked pretty toxic what was going on there, and they won the Super Bowl. So we shouldn't even many weeks out, we shouldn't bury that team just because, they're a very talented football team, and they have good players and all that stuff. So,
Well,
and then we have a trade deadline too. So there's stuff that could be coming. There's help that might be coming, may not. I don't know. We'll see. But I feel pretty good about where they are. Obviously, they're 5-2, and I mean, if we were anticipating an 11-6, 12-5 kind of performance in the regular season, I think they're right on track for that.
Yeah, I mean, they could go 15-2. It's still on the table, but I think we both said in the summer, like, probably a little unrealistic, just given the schedule and other teams getting better, but it's still on the table. I mean, they won 71% of their games in the first half of the season, 5-2, 5 out of 7 games. But I think that's the thing. Like, if they can win 70% of these last 10 games, go 7-10 or 7-3 in the second half here, you're looking at a 12-5 team.
Yeah.
Probably winning the division at that point, I would have to assume. I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, I think it's all good things. I mean, there's no need to hit panic mode. They know that they've got to get better on some things, and I think they will. I mean, they've shown, like, when they're clicking on offense, man, they are dangerous. And it felt like at any moment they could put something together against the Bucs. It just felt that way, and it kind of feels that way moving forward. Like, at any point they could get a drive, they could get it going. And pissed off Amon-Ra St. Brown is awesome. It is awesome because it makes, I think, so many people around him better.
That dude wears grudges like crowns, man. I mean, he really does.
Yeah.
and hey, whatever it takes, right? Like, if that's what you need to propel you forward, so be it. It's cool. But he definitely is. He definitely does that stuff, and it's hilarious. It's like, dude, you're a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, and you are still pissed off about the draft.
Yeah. And then you're pissed about a drop. And I'll tell you this, if that Monday Night Crew kept talking about that drop, I would have been muting that broadcast really fast. Like, it was all they talked about after that first drive. And it's like, he's human. Yeah. He's not a robot. I've watched Justin Jefferson drop a ball. I've seen Jamar Chase drop a ball. A.J. Brown, the list goes on. You guys don't talk about any of it. He drops one, and it's like the world's falling. So, or the sky's falling, excuse me. But no, yeah, I think it's a really good second half schedule as far as, winnable games, yes, but also you've got some really high-level competitive games that are in key spots in prime time, and that's just where this team thrives. They thrive in those spots, and I know they lost to the Chiefs in prime time, but they're 13-3 under Dan Campbell throughout his career in prime time, and they've got quite a few coming up. I mean, they've got the Eagles on Sunday night. They've got the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. They've got the Packers, obviously, on Thanksgiving, and they've got, the Vikings on Christmas Day. And there's a couple games that could potentially be flexed to a Sunday night or a Monday. So
I would think the Rams game, I don't know how early the Rams game is, so I shouldn't say it. I don't know that game's flexible, but the Eagles game, the
Sunday night.
Okay. The Eagles, the Packers on Thanksgiving, and the Rams, those three games are gonna dictate
a lot
what the playoff outlook looks like, and the big picture going. Those are 3 huge football games.
Yeah.
The Rams, man, Stafford and the Rams defense is awesome, and obviously that offense is great as long as it's driven by Matt Stafford. That's I wouldn't want to have to deal with them in the playoffs. Just no.
I'm with you. I mean, if the Bears are starting to put some things together. Their defense is playing much better. So we'll see. I mean, that last game could really be what it's all for the division. Not saying the Bears are fighting for the division, but they could be fighting for a playoff chance.
Sure.
And again, you got 2 divisional games back to back there, Vikings and Bears. So
yeah.
A lot to play for, a lot to happen. I think offensively, again, get better on third down, primarily on 3rd and 10. And I know that's a big ask, but just do a little bit better, just a little bit, and you'll be fine. I think the ground game will get going, and I think they'll figure out how to use David Montgomery a little bit better. I think Dan Campbell has made that kind of a point that that's something he wants to see with the offense. And I think the same thing for Laporta or JMO. There's no reason to panic off of 1 game of production or even 2 games of production. It's peaks and valleys. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but there's playmakers offensively. They're going to make plays. And there's a lot of encouraging signs with the defense, and they've got reinforcements coming. Reed and Arnold, they both look like they'll be back at some point. I mean, Arnold was practicing last week. So,
and Branch comes back. Kirby Joseph will be back. I do think we haven't really talked about this, but Alim McNeil returning is such a significant thing for this defense.
Yeah.
And suddenly you look at Reeder, McNeil, Tyleik Williams, and you think, man, they're cooking.
Yeah.
And I want to say, maybe I have this stat wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway, because whatever. I want to say last year in the games that McNeil and Hutchinson played together, they had 10 sacks. There's so much disruption that happens, and we saw it. We saw it last week. How many times did McNeil put Graham Barton on skates and walk him directly into Baker's lap? And that's in week 1 with McNeil, and he played more than I think anybody really thought he was going to play. He's very disruptive. There's nothing but good things going forward with that defensive line. You just hope that the really important pieces stay healthy and 5-2, globally, I think that it looks really good for them going forward.
I agree. It's going to be a fun second half. We're going to obviously keep breaking it down right here on the Detroit Lions podcast. You guys, of course, can rate, review, and subscribe to the Detroit Lions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter or X at Russ NFL Draft, at Bischoff_Scott. We wanted to jump on this week, break down a little bit of the Bucs, take a look into the second half of the season. We'll be back next week coming off the bye. We'll preview that game against the Vikings and probably take a little look around the league and maybe get some trade deadline stuff, because that is, I think, this week coming up, week 8. So maybe week 9. I don't know. But we'll look into all that stuff. And you got anything to add, my man?
No.
All right. Well, he's Scott Bischoff. I'm Russ Brown. This has been Bischoff and Brown right here on the Detroit Lions podcast.